This next video is going to cover the subject of triads. Triads are a very exciting subject because now that we're talking about triads and chords in general, we're able to explore adding harmony to our music. We could do that a little bit with intervals, but triads just deepen that experience because a triad is 3 or more notes played at the same time, or a chord rather is 3 or more notes played at the same time. But a triad is going to be a little bit more specific. So let's examine chords first of all. There are a lot of different variations for what could be considered a chord. A chord could be this, where you have 3 notes and they're evenly spaced. That's a triad, but we'll get back to that in a second. It could be that type of chord, which is a very common chord. It could be a larger chord that contains more notes. It could be a chord that sounds like this. Technically, that's a chord. It may not be very pleasant to the ear, but it actually is considered a chord because a chord is 3 or more notes played at the same time. Now, the chords that we're going to be focusing on are triads, and they're very specific chords. The main characteristics of a triad is they are 3 notes, and each of those notes is a 3rd interval apart. So, for example, if I start on D, D would be my root of the chord. That's the foundation of my chord, and that's what my chord will be named after. So D, I skip a letter to F, so that would make it a 3rd, and then I skip a letter to A. That would make it another 3rd. So we have 3 notes in my triad, 1, 2, 3, and each of them are a 3rd apart. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Those are the basic characteristics of a triad. And when you see a triad on the staff, what you'll see is that all 3 notes will be on lines, or all 3 notes will be on spaces. So sometimes I call them the snowman chord because they kind of look like that when you draw them on the staff. But those are the main characteristics of a triad specifically. Now, there are different types of triads, just like there are different types of intervals. So we have 4 main types of triads that we'll be looking at in this video. One is the major triad, then the minor triad, augmented triad, and diminished triad. And they all have a unique sound and a unique function. So first of all, let's listen to the sound. We have major triads. A major triad is the same thing as the 1st, 3rd, and 5th notes of a major scale. That's an easy way to find a major triad. A minor triad has a different sound. A little bit darker sound. And the minor triad also lines up with a minor scale. So a minor triad could be the 1st, 3rd, and 5th notes of a minor scale. Then we have augmented triads, which are a little unusual. When I start to play them, they will sound as if they're going to be major as I play 1 note at a time, but the last note will be changed. This would be major. This is augmented. Very interesting sound to it. Some people might think that it sounds a little bit dissonant, and a lot of times it's used as a transition chord. There's your augmented, and then moving on from there. Diminished is smaller. If you think of an item being diminished, the notes are closer together, so it's different types of 3rds. All of those are diminished triads. So they each have their unique sound, and it's fun to use a variety of them when you're composing music because they change the feel of the music. So let's talk about how to find these on the piano. I'm going to start with F as my root, and I'm going to create these 4 different types of triads. So because we said that a triad is built on 3rds, or in other words, the notes are a 3rd apart, what type of 3rds we use will change the type of triad that we hear and change the sound. So if we want to create a major triad, we're going to start with a major 3rd. And remember, a major 3rd is 4 half steps, and a minor 3rd is 3 half steps between the notes. So starting from F, I'm going to go up a major third, 4 half steps, that puts me on A. And from there, I want the opposite. I want a minor third, 3 half steps. So we have major third on the bottom, minor third on top. Altogether, that creates a major triad. Minor is the opposite. We have a minor third on the bottom and a major third on top. So major and minor triads have one of each type of third. So for a minor, the bottom third is the one that's going to match the name of the triad. So from F, we go 3 half steps up for a minor third, and then 4 half steps up for a major third. Now we have an F minor triad instead of F major. So this is true of any starting note. It could be a black key, could be a white key, could be sharp, flat, natural. The triads work the same way. So major and minor triads start with a third that matches the name. So major triad starts with a major third. Minor triad starts with a minor third. And then you switch it on top. For the other two types of triads, we have augmented, which is the largest. The notes are the furthest apart with that that triad. So you have 2 major thirds. We'll start on F again. From F, we go up a major third, 4 half steps, to A, and then a major third again, 4 half steps, to C sharp. And it has that very unique sound that an augmented triad has. So it's a little bit larger. For diminished, this one's the smaller triad where the notes are a little closer together. So instead of 2 major thirds, we have 2 minor thirds that are stacked. So from F, we go 3 half steps up, then 3 half steps again. And now, because the notes are closer together, they have even more of an intense sound than your minor triad. So we have major, minor, augmented, and diminished triads. And again, we could try this on any note, and as long as we're using the correct types of thirds, that's the triad that you'll be able to build. I like basing them on thirds because it's a way to really quickly grab those triads. If someone says, can you play an E diminished triad? And at first thought, you might have no idea what that means. But if you can remember, diminished, 2 minor thirds. Grab those minor thirds, and you automatically have an E diminished triad without having to relate it to a scale or anything like that. So I'd encourage you to practice this, see how fast you can get at identifying those triads, finding them on the keyboard, and counting out the half steps for those thirds. But those are the basic elements for finding triads on the keyboard.